I know he's had the operation already and they say it's a success. I've never once seen them come out of an operation and say it went awful. By the way, I just point that out. Imagine that.
Oh, no, that was amazing. Imagine that.
Sat like that.
Just had surgery.
In the hospital with the thumbs down going, I had surgery.
It was a
disaster.
mess.
They've had to take it out.
Yeah.
No, I've never
We got at it again tomorrow.
Hello there. Welcome back to a new edition of Gas It Out. We hope you've enjoyed the British Grand Prix, and over the next hour or so, myself and former World Superbike champions Neil Hodgson and Sylvain Gintoli are going to talk you through the best bits of Silverstone and the British Grand Prix. Neil, SG, how are you boys? All okay?
All good with me. I had a lovely day yesterday. Do you know what we don't get the opportunity to do enough is spend time at airports, do we? So yesterday,
no.
What a day. I got to Birmingham Airport to fly back to the Isle of Man. And luckily, the flight kept getting delayed. Are you ready for this? Get ready. And it kept getting even more delayed. And then they cancelled it. So that meant I had to come back the next day and spend time in an airport. So I've had a lovely... Well, since I've seen you, I feel like I've just been travelling, which is crazy, isn't it?
And my thing, Sylvain, is it's great. I love the weekend. I love Sunday at the British Grand Prix because I can drive home. That's it for me. I just drove home on Sunday night and I got bedtime.
Or you can ride your bike. I rode my bike back.
Did you ride
came with
on
the bike
Sunday?
In the morning. I came in the morning. It took me literally 45 minutes to get there. There was no traffic. Well, there was traffic, but with the bike, there's no better feeling, is it? Bit of filtering, just enjoying it. Got in, parked, lovely in a paddock in about 5 minutes, and then I guess what? As soon as we finished, I left, and there was no traffic either. So I was home about an hour later, and it was a good ride, good weather. I loved it. I enjoyed it. So
wow,
it was good.
We're going to talk about the merits of the British Grand Prix, what we felt about it, about the crowds. According to official stats, there were only a few more. It felt like a better weekend. Maybe that was down to the weather. We're going to talk about Aprilia as well, really holding up their end of the bargain, going to a track that they were supposed to go well up and going well at it. Marco Bezzecchi on return from injury looked great. Jorge Martin extends his championship lead. And the two Trackhouse boys had differing fortunes over the weekend. Ducati, where were they? We'll discuss that. And of course, we're going to talk about that Moto2 race and Moto3 as well. Lots to get our teeth into from the British Grand Prix. But shall we start with the event first of all, Neil? Because we were, and I think fairly critical in the past about Silverstone and their attempts to host the British Grand Prix. They've extended for another couple of years. We know that's going to be the case. We knew that before the weekend. What was your feeling about the weekend as a whole, as an event, going to the British Grand Prix? What would you give Silverstone out of 10 for what happened, and how much of it's down to the weather?
Well, obviously the weather helps a lot, and it was literally perfect weather. Not too hot, not too cold, consistent sunny weather. So yeah, that helps. It appeared, and obviously, Gav, we've been going to the British Grand Prix. We've all been going to the British Grand Prix for a lot of years. It appeared like there'd been more effort, a little bit more infrastructure. So there was more to do when the bikes aren't riding around the tracks. Obviously, I think helped a little bit by the new go-kart track they've built, which looks pretty impressive. And they got the Fab Racing Championship attending that. So every time we went past it, it was good to see little kids going around that track. All in all, lots of smiley faces. Obviously, we weren't camping. We aren't paying for the burgers that I believe are quite expensive. I've heard that side of it it just seems a little bit expensive or too expensive. But I guess it is what it is. I don't know what it's like when you go to Mugello. I don't know what it's like in Le Mans if burgers are a fortune there. But all in all, it seemed much better. And it seemed like there were more people there. You feel like the viewing figures or the attendees are less than what it looked like, because they seemed like quite a good atmosphere for Silverstone, which we know it's difficult to have atmosphere there because it's so vast. You can fit 6 Saxon rings in the footprint of Silverstone. If you think about Saxon Ring, it looks ram-packed. The atmosphere is great because it's so small. So there is also that issue as well.
Yeah, let us know what you thought if you were there over the British Grand Prix weekend. As always, you can contact us at Gas It Out Pod on Instagram and YouTube. We'd love to know your opinions. We'd love to know, if something felt worse or better for you. If you had a great time or you didn't. If you found that parking was expensive, or I was out in the public area a couple of times on Friday night. We were with the auction, and huge congratulations to Two Wheels for Life. Michael Hill does a brilliant job up there on stage as well. Myself and Susie helped out a little bit, and Michael was doing the legwork and the donkey work on that. But they raised over 100,000 over the weekend. I don't know. They used to have an area, didn't they, behind Brooklands? That's where they put that kart track. But they had another area. Remember, there used to be the Monster stage. It's no longer a Monster Energy Grand Prix, so they didn't have the full Monster rig and all that. And maybe the areas were all spread out a little bit. But it felt like it was all concentrated into that area behind the stage. I went there on Saturday to film something that never happened. I met hundreds of people, genuinely, because I stood in the bar. So everyone kept walking past while I'm there with a camera, looking like I'm there.
Attention seeking.
Exactly.
Again.
It was just, I was actually trying. We were supposed to film serving fish and chips with Pedro Costa from a chip van, but health and safety wouldn't let us. The less said about that, the better. But God. Everyone I spoke to, I felt like everyone was from Yorkshire for a start. So, of course, great people. But also, everyone had a smile on their face. And Sylvain, genuinely, someone came up to me and they were camping in the campsite at Woodcote, right? And they said they'd had the best weekend of their lives. And they genuinely, and I was like, do you know what? That cheered me. No end. And a lot of people came up and said they were having a great time. What was your impression, Sylvain? Like Neil says, you've been to over 25 British Grand Prix. So what was your opinion of the weekend as a whole?
Well, very much everything that Neil said. I thought it was brilliant. I felt like it felt different from the very start. There was a buzz to it that we sort of. It felt like we were losing, year after year. It just felt like it needed to be pulled back. And this weekend felt much better. There was a better atmosphere. There's loads of more. So obviously we see it a little bit different, because even though we go a little bit in the public area, I went to the main stage as well on the Two Wheels for Life stage, which they did an incredible job over the weekend. But we see most of it when we are in the paddock. And in the paddock, it was quite buzzy. There was loads of people around. Obviously, the weather is always going to make a big difference. We were very lucky there, and once again we got some great racing, especially in the Moto2, Moto3. MotoGP was a bit different, but we got some good racing as well. So for me, it just felt really good. I was also a little bit surprised by the actual official figures. I thought there would have been more, but it felt maybe that there was more people Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday didn't quite get there. But on such a large space, large track, it's difficult for it to feel super busy because it's so massive. So, I mean, the answer is, I think everybody needs to turn up next year, make it even more busy. And there was loads going on though. There was the fab racing on that new car track. It looks amazing. There was the Moto 4 as well with the kids from Moto 4. They had their own paddock at the national paddock. Obviously the Harley Cup as well. That was in the other paddock as well. So loads and loads of positive, I'd say, for this Grand Prix. And I hope this is like a stepping stone, for it to build up in those next 2 years now with that new contract.
Do you know what, Gav? I actually think how it works is you've more chance of that happening when people have had a good time. So essentially now what you'd hope is people have had a good time. They go back, they tell all their mates, and they book for next year. And then they get more people that come and they go, oh, I'll tell you what, we'll come, because that does sound like a fun event. And then it grows. Word of mouth. It's the only way it's going to grow, isn't it?
That's how Le Mans worked. The story of Le Mans is that there was not many people there, maybe 15 years ago. I mean, you have to build momentum. You have to. You remember Le Mans used to be even as a rider, and I'm talking as a French rider. Le Mans was sort of like. I don't know, you just weren't looking forward to it too much. The weather was normally horrendous, and it was all a bit grim and a bit rubbish. Now, I'd say Le Mans is probably right up there. Well, attendance-wise, it's the biggest one, and it's brilliant. There is people everywhere. The They are cheering like mad. I mean, it's a great atmosphere, and actually the people are sound as well. We've been in the public areas. They're all there for a laugh and having fun.
Far.
They bring the family. So yeah, I mean they remain French, so you got to keep that in mind.
Only you can say that.
Yeah, only you can say that.
But it's a great so what Claude Mich and his team did there is that they built momentum. They made people want to come back, and they made people want to come home and tell their mates, listen, we went with the family, it was brilliant. We it cost us a bit, but we don't feel like we've been ripped off. We had a great time. There was a beautiful atmosphere. There was some French riders, some great racing, and we loved it. So you got to start somewhere. So like I said, it feels like something that Silverstone can build on this year. It felt nice.
I think that's the right thing. It's a starting block, isn't it? It's like a relaunch. And maybe the thing in London we did on Thursday, maybe that helps it. Maybe it helps create a kind of little bit of an aura. Okay, we are a special sport. We are a big sport. We're not just a niche. And actually, this can be enjoyed by everybody. And I don't know, I saw a lot of women there, saw a lot of families there, a lot of kids as well. So I just think that's important, isn't it? To make it a weekend that everybody can enjoy. So hopefully Silverstone take note. It's a launch pad now to build on. And I think you're both right there. Word of mouth, that sort of thing helps. Weather's obviously massive. And moving it back to August is a big part of that. There's that opportunity for that to happen. And they can build on it. I think maybe some more music acts, that kind of thing that you can build into a weekend. I think that the on-track action was good across the board. So let's talk with that. Let's go on to the on-track action. Obviously, in MotoGP, we started the weekend with Jorge Martin and the top 5 covered behind him by 24 points. We end the weekend not too dissimilar. The championship is still in the balance. But Neil, we sort of threw the gauntlet down, didn't we, before the weekend? We said Aprilia need to strike while the iron's hot. They need to make hay, quite literally, while the sun shines. And it shone over the weekend. And Aprilia held up their end of the bargain with all the riders contributing.
Yeah, and you know what they did? Aprilia really, had the mid-season break. First half of the season's done. That's the history. Now we're looking forward to this run into the end. What they did, they have built the best motorcycle. What a bike. It just works, doesn't it? All the Aprilia riders fast again. We are fortunate on TNT Sports to have the ghosting analysis tool. We have Chaz Davis out on track filming certain sections of the track, and we got a graphic example. We'd seen it at points during this season at other tracks where you could see the Aprilia on faster corners has the ability to carry more corner speed. But this weekend, at the end of Friday, we got the fastest lap from Marc Marquez, we got the fastest lap from Marco Bezzecchi, and we overlaid them. And it's mind-blowing, the difference. The two ways two MotoGP bikes go through a fifth gear corner. And you could see that the Aprilia was gaining just through the corner 5 bike lengths, but then that leads onto a straight down towards Coppice. So that'll extend to more like 10. And when you go to a faster track like Silverstone, there's more than one corner like Woodcut. There are about 4 of the corners at a similar speed. So that's what the other manufacturers are up against. And certainly that's what Ducati are up against. So I bet it was a tough day for Marc Marquez. But I bet it was a tough day for Gigi Dall'Igna. You know what I mean? To see that, because he's had the pats on the back for building the best motorcycle for what feels like an eternity now. I don't know how long's it been? The last 8 years, really?
Since 2020. Well, yeah, maybe 2020. Since Dovi started challenging for the championship, you started to think, okay, this Ducati is one of the best bikes out there. Because it had some lean years. It had a lot of lean years. Let's not forget about that. And he transformed things and brought it to the level it is. But it feels like, we've got to a point. Actually, Aprilia found another way. There is another way of doing this. And I just want to come back about that ghosting, because there were a few comments about it that I saw. And I just want to answer to members of the public who think that, we cherry pick this. Or we obviously go to a corner where something is highlighted. And there were people saying, oh, yeah, but you could go to another corner and Ducati might be holding their end up, and they might be in farm or whatever. But when you're dealing with those fast corners like that, and it's not just one, as you mentioned, it's not just, and I'll say run down to Cops instead of Coppis. Because you said Coppis before you said that on air. I was like, oh, no. Yeah, we're not at Donington.
Sorry.
Which no, I know, but it's not just there, is it, Neil? It is through Cops where you saw that the Aprilia had it. It is through Stowe potentially, or through Club, or through Abbey
turn one,
Abbey. Exactly.
And Farm, turn 2, fifth gear.
And so you're talking about 4 or potentially 5 spots around the track where that's happening, and always fast corners. You get bigger margins, and that's just always the way it is. You can make more tens through there, but through slower corners where you might have a little advantage, but there's very, very minor amounts to be gained.
Yeah, and what it shows and what we've learned throughout this year is, and we saw it last year, and we've seen it coming slowly from Aprilia, but how they've been ahead of the aero game. It was Ducati ruled the roost with aero. They set the bar, they changed the landscape. Every time they turned it with something new, you would look at the bike, we'd be excited. Look at that. Before you know it, every other manufacturer would have gone down that road. Aprilia stuck to their guns and built this almost 250cc like MotoGP bike. They worked on the aero, that 4 high-speed corners, that ground effect, how well that works, how that helps the bike naturally turn. And if you look at the front of the Aprilia, or if you look at the whole of the Aprilia, like we all do, like we're fortunate enough to do when you walk in pit lane, you marvel at the amount of aero and how well it works. And the percentage of aero increases the ability for it to do what it's supposed to do at higher speeds. And that's why that Aprilia on fast flowing tracks, I'm going to say it, is unbeatable. Really, it's unbeatable. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and we will get a couple of more places towards the end of the year, perhaps, where that's going to tell. Maybe at Phillip Island, potentially. You look at there again where Raul Fernandez did what he did last year. Indonesia's got. Remember that corner where Bez? That was the differential that we saw through Woodcote. Was the reason that Marc Marquez has a shoulder injury.
So
because
really
Marco Bezzecchi suddenly found himself 10 kilometres an hour, perhaps faster than Marc in the middle of a corner.
Yeah, and confused, going, what's he doing? Why is he rolling the throttle? He's rolling the throttle because you have to on a Ducati to get it to turn in a 5th gear corner, not on an Aprilia.
Sylvain, the fact is they've made this bike, and maybe Ducati's aero was quite sort of front heavy to help the front so it turned, but then you could sit it back and rely on getting the engine, basically using the strength of Ducati to work out of a corner. But what Aprilia appear to have done is focus on the middle and the rear of the bike, so that the whole bike sort of sits down mid-corner, and it's meant that they can look after the tyres when clearly the other bike, everyone was dropping in terms of tyres with the temperatures over the weekend, but they could be more gentle and treat their tyres better over the weekend, and that's what's paid off in the end.
That's right. Yeah, the bike just turned better naturally, and I think there's another aspect to it where I think because the bike is so aero efficient and so good with the aero side of things, that allows them to use a little bit more of an extreme geometry in the front to help turning. And so that's why we've seen the bike a little bit nervous sometimes, and sometimes they dial that back in the weekend. But we've seen that on the fast tracks, in Assen, especially in Assen, you could see that. So I think they run quite an aggressive geometry in the front, as in like a very, very turny bike, a bike that is going to turn sharp.
What does that mean? What does that mean to the average person? What does extreme geometry mean? What does turny mean?
For example, they can. So those bikes, you can tune them however you want. Like the window of setting it is quite wide. But for example, in the front on the front end, you can choose the angle of the forks. The more you open it, the more your bike is stable, the more you can trail brake really strong with the bike, but then the less the bike is going to turn once you release the brake. So for example, if you had a more close angle in the front, I'll do it like that. If your bike is more closed, like the angle of the forks, that will give you a more nervous bike. That will give you a bike that's going to have more weight onto the front. You're bringing your front wheel a little bit closer to you. So you have a little bit of a shorter bike, a little bit more nimble. But if you can compensate that with the aero, then you got the best of both worlds. And so if you have if you have an aero package that is efficient and helps you with stability, you can run a bit of a different geometry to help the bike turn more, let's say, mechanically, like naturally. So you can have you can set the height of the bike as well. You can have a bike that is a bit set differently like that, because you got that aero that's maintaining you. And we see these differences, especially on the fast tracks, which means that the bike is particularly good when you are cornering at high speed. And that's what we see with the ghosting as well. The faster the corner, basically, the better the Aprilia behaves. So yeah, it's quite impressive what they've done. And in Silverstone, they absolutely destroyed Ducati. They destroyed everybody because they have such an advantage. They locked up the front row. They locked up the podium in the sprint, and then they locked up the podium in the main Grand Prix, which that's never happened before, has it?
They've never done sprint and main race. Yeah,
they were so strong, and that's where Ogura crashing in the main race, and Raul Fernandez crashing in the sprint. So they would have probably had top four, like the 4 Aprilias on the grid in the top 4 positions. That's how strong and dominating they are, and that's with very different riders, very different riding style, and so on. So yeah, they had to deliver after that summer break for various different reasons. Bezzecchi had to come back and sort of press reset button despite the injuries and the fact that he wasn't 100%. And he did. He was super brave and go home with a couple of podiums, and he'll be happy with that. He'll be physically destroyed. He couldn't even talk at the end of the race yesterday, on Sunday. And then they had Jorge Martin that really was leading the championship. But for me, and I said it in the last podcast, it was probably the most disappointing rider for me because I'd not seen what I thought I was going to see, and I felt like he was there because he played it. Sometimes he just couldn't do it, and just scored points. But he hasn't done the results that I thought he was going to do. And this weekend he stepped up, and for me, for the first time, I can really see him as a world champion. He really stepped up. He was strong mentally. He looked really good. He looked really good physically as well. Very sharp. He did this massive cycling race, and I feel like that made him even more lean than he was. And he looked light, sharp, and really on the money this weekend.
I just want to talk about another world champion really briefly before we go to a first break. When we come back from the break, we are going to talk about the riders individually, about Martin, about Fernandez winning on the Sunday, Bezzecchi's return, what happened with the Ducatis. But I just want to point out that Fabio Quartararo has donated to Sylvain and the Luca Gintoli Foundation a helmet, which is so good of him. It is there's a QR code on the screens if you are watching this on YouTube. And if you follow that, you can get to the fundraiser. Sylvain can tell us about it in a second. If you are listening to this on the audio version, go to Sylvain's Instagram, at Sylvain Gintoli. Go to Fabio Quartararo's Instagram as well, because it's on there. And it's a code whereby you can bid on a raffle ticket to win one of 2 Fabio Quartararo's testing helmets from this year. So that's one of 2 existing in the world. The other one, Fabio's going to keep, because he keeps all of his helmets. The other one is being raffled. Brilliant from Fabio to do it, Sylvain. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about it? Because we'd love, because it's going to end by the end of this week. This is the week following the British Grand Prix. So, but we'd love people to have the opportunity to buy a ticket. And that's why you've done a raffle, isn't it, Sylvain? So everyone can have a go.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, first of all, Fabio Quartararo, what a legend doing this, What a kind thing to do. Obviously he didn't have to do anything. He proposed to do this, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, this will be awesome, because it's a great way of engaging with the fans. It's a great way of supporting a great cause. I mean, nobody loses there, so it's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, thank you, Fabio, for doing this. I mean, this is how good is that? You enter, you can buy a ticket for £5. You enter with the chance to win this helmet. I mean, this does not happen as well, because it's very rare that proper MotoGP riders' helmet come across. You normally sometimes see replicas, or but this is a proper one that actually was worn by Fabio. So that doesn't happen very often. And then you can sometimes they auction it for charity, but if you do that, you're pricing people out really quickly, because once they get to £3,000, £4,000, 5,000, well, not many people can spend that amount on a, even though if they wanted to, they can't do it. So price them out. So yeah, doing the raffle gives everybody a chance. If you want to increase your chances, you can buy loads of tickets. So that there's a way to do it as well if you want to donate more. And even if you just want to enter, you still have a chance to win it. So it's brilliant. And obviously all the money goes to the Luca Guintoli Foundation, which is a charity that is supporting children with cancer and their families. So I mean, there's no going wrong there. It's only doing good stuff, and somebody's going to get lucky. Somebody's going to win it and be a happy person. So it's a great thing to do. So yeah, well done, Fabio, and let's see who wins at the end of the week.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sylvain. Thanks to Fabio. Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to everyone else for getting involved. And still time to buy just a £5, isn't it, for one ticket?
Yeah.
Was it? Did you say there was someone who bought like 100 tickets or something? Ridiculous like that.
No, somebody put like I think it was £700 of tickets. But if you buy more, you get a discount. As in, like you get I can't remember what it is, but say if you buy. Say if you spend £10, you get 3 tickets instead of 2, and so on. So if you spend 50 quid, you get more than 10 tickets. You get like 15 or 20 tickets, something like that. So yes, somebody spent 7. I mean, some people have really gone for it, which is brilliant. But again, it's a donation. So
yeah,
exactly.
No one loses.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
No.
that's it's like, obviously there's so many charities. There's always another good cause, but obviously it's incredibly close to your heart, Sylvain, of course, but it's close to all of our hearts, because we just think, if you've got children, a children's cancer charity, I mean, it all goes to them to help families. It's just, it doesn't, if you want to donate, it's like I say, it's just £5 and you have a chance of winning something that's so special. It's unreal.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. As you say, the QR code's been on the screen on the YouTube version. Search it out if you're listening on the audio version. If you are on the audio version, go to Sylvain's Instagram, go to Fabio's Instagram, or just search Luca Guintoli Foundation, Fabio helmet, something like that, and you'll find it there. We'll take a break from the action. When we come back, we are going to talk about the winners and losers from the British Grand Prix. Welcome back to Gas It Out on the video version on YouTube, available there always. And you can go and see all the back catalogue, including the interviews. Hopefully got a couple more being lined up as we speak. We are looking at the World Championship standings, and it shows us Jorge Martin on top of the pile on 240 points. Marco Bezzecchi's moved up from being 4th before the summer break. What a comeback from him. 2 third places over the weekend to put him 2nd in the championship, 31 behind his teammates. Ogura, his first transgression, his first mistake that he's made on a Sunday this year, and he drops back to 3rd, 37 behind Martin. And then Marc Marquez on 200 points after 12 rounds is 40 points behind. Fabio Di Gianantonio, just a solitary point behind him. But Neil, shall we talk about Martin and the job he did over the weekend? A win on Saturday, 2nd on Sunday, but part of that I'm sure can be put down to the first corner, where once again we have to talk about the goddamn ride height devices, because they've played a part, haven't they, in really the outcome. Because the moment that Raul Fernandez could open up a second 1.2 over Marco Bezzecchi in the early stages of that race, really that felt like the race was done right there and then.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were commentating, and we were hoping that Raul Fernandez might have some tyre issues. Not that with anything against Raul Fernandez, by the way. We just like to commentate on a race, not a procession, which it sort of turned it into a little bit, and that was down credit to Raul Fernandez. He took the risk. He went fast early on. I mean, everybody I spoke to on Saturday everybody was complaining about how bad the tyres had been, the soft slick. It basically lasted about what sounded like 4 laps. So everyone was dreading what it was going to be like doing a 20-lap race. But as it turned out, the tyres lasted okay. But yeah, you asked me about Martin. Rock solid weekend. Like Sylvain had said earlier on, looked different this weekend. He talked about to all the press that he's been searching for the magical feeling that he had in Le Mans, and I think it's been pretty evident to see that he's not been able to find that. We've seen him not look like the Jorge Martin we know. When Jorge Martin's riding well, he's immaculately smooth. Yes, he exaggerates his body language on the bike, that beautiful riding style of his, but he's just not looked himself. But this weekend, pretty much from the get-go, he's looked more like the Jorge Martin from 2024. The World Championship winning Jorge Martin. So, and again, like Sylvain said earlier on, I feel like this weekend is the first time I've thought Martin could get this, even though he was leading the championship, obviously, prior to this weekend. It's the first time I'm starting to think, tell you what, the majority of people in the paddock think this. We thought Marc Marquez was going to run away with his second half of the season. Marc's got a job on. That's the way I see it, which is good news. That's what we want. We want great racing. So I think we've got lots to look forward to.
Jorge Martin, Sylvain, when he has a weekend like this, his chest, you can visibly see it, can't you? It's not the airbag, it's his chest puffing out because he starts to get this swagger. He gets this confidence. We have seen it in 23, not only in 24, but 23. And in 24, what he learned was how to use his head, how to manage things, how to get it across the line in a championship. It's taken the summer for them to go backwards, to go forwards. It's taken them to go, okay, let's stop searching for, Barcelona was an anomaly. It was a strange weekend, the 5 crashes and the crash in testing on a difficult track, greasy. It just wasn't right. And it's taken that summer break for a kind of reset button, that Martin has had. And now that Martin in this mode, if he can keep it going, and that's the question. We know that his bones are like glass. We know that, small crashes for Martin can often go, worse for him than they do for other people. But Martin is a danger now, isn't he?
Yeah, he just looks completely different. It looks like he's like the confidence, the body language, the fact that he was, he was able to build this weekend, make it count, put it on pole, like destroying that lap record. They destroyed the lap record by over a second. So it was a lot faster. So that could also explain why there was some troubles a bit with the tires. It's because the bikes have become so much better. 1 second is a lot in MotoGP terms. So yeah, that was a big difference. And like you said, walking, with confidence, walking around, and the body attitude is a lot more confident. So they've come back to that setup from the start of the year. Sometimes it's a funny one because you'd think, the teams and the riders have to adapt and change the setup completely of the bike from race to race. And he's at the top, like in MotoGP category. And actually, it's very often it's the other way around. You find a base that you like, and it sort of works everywhere. Because you get the same feel, and because the feel that a rider needs to have with his bike to be super efficient. Can I hear some birds? Is it
sorry?
Or can I hear
the seagulls here?
Have you put chips out for him?
I was going to say
chips out for Gavin.
Can I hear?
Go on.
Is that the seagulls on the balcony there?
Yeah, I tell you what,
of the mansion.
You do not feed the seagulls here. Once they know, your life's over. Honestly, you do not. My wife's closing the door now. The competition about the seagulls.
Just to finish on Martin, he's looking now. The most dangerous days.
Tell the pool boy. Tell him to go over and get the shotgun out. Yeah.
All right, Christian Bale.
Pool boy. Hey, if I did have a pool boy, my wife would be out there.
He's looking more dangerous than he's ever had. He's looking like a real proper danger for the championship. Yeah, it looked very good.
Come back straight to you, Sylvain, on his teammate, Marco Bezzecchi. I know, every motorcycle racer pretty much has broken their collarbone at some point, but just can we reiterate the job that he's done? We saw how shattered he was just after practice. Never mind then qualifying, never mind then doing a sprint, never mind then going on and doing a 20-lap race in warm conditions for that circuit and fighting the bike around it. What about the job that Bez did to bring home two third places on the weekend?
Amazing. So first thing is that there's collarbone fractures and then there's collarbone fractures. And from what we heard, the collarbone fracture that he sustained in his crash in Sachsenring was one of the bad ones, which means the surgery is heavier. It's less stable when they put it in, and they maybe have to put a little bit more metal, a little bit like extra screws or a bigger plate or whatever. If it's shattered in different bits. So that's very different to like a clean break. And he was clearly massively still in pain and struggling. I mean, he couldn't get off his bike, and I don't know. He made it on the podium on Sunday. He looked so exhausted. He was, you get that sometimes you're so knackered, so exhausted. You're given so much mentally and physically that you can never, like, you can hardly speak. And he was speaking really slow. He was like, very, very, very drained after those races. So Bezzecchi for me was the hero of the weekend. He also said that he had a big cut still on his knee, and the fact, this Assen crash, I know it's now a while back, but this kind of crashes, the way that his body rolled and the speed and the sort of like the impact of it, the violence of it, this is not something that even if you're young and fit, and this is not something that you're going to brush off really quickly. This is trauma. This is like, your body is getting destroyed. You're getting smacked. I mean, he rolled his head to his ankles and cut his knee open, and he was knocked out. I mean, he was completely destroyed there. So he will still feel that. His body will still be in shock from and recovering from that sort of impact. This is a bone shaking, organ moving inside your body. This is brutal. So yeah, he did well. And like I said, hero of the weekend for me, because you could see how much. I mean, he was crying after the races, like literally given everything. The emotions are coming out, and I love to see that. A real fighter, because mentally as well, he needed it. For him, he went to hero to zero. In the season, and the last few races have been an absolute disaster. We're talking the slapping the marshal in Brno, not being able to take the race start the next day, and the injuries compounding. So well done, Marco, and it's great to see him back.
Yeah, and I want to say, Neil, and he sounds really harsh on Bez. I almost want to say he brought down a peg or two over recent rounds, but that's not right. It's not fair to him, because he's actually quite humble. He's not talked about himself as a championship leader. He's not talked about himself as a threat. He's not, you know what I mean? He's not one of these who'll go out and say, oh, you're all losers, I'm the best. He's not like that. I don't know whether it's humility. I don't know what it's brought to it, but it's like a bit of clarity, perhaps. The bad results since Italy, and he hadn't scored a point on a Sunday since he stood on the pit wall in Mugello. He had the podium in the sprint in Hungary, and then was taken out, and since then hadn't had a podium. To bring two home, I don't know, how would you describe what's happened perhaps over summer for Bez? The fact that now again he's back in the title fight.
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny you say that, because I was just thinking it when you were saying that. Weirdly, this could be the making of him, which sounds bizarre, doesn't it? 'Cause it's like a tough lesson to have two massive crashes and have the issue he had, obviously, with his conduct in Brno. This could be, we could look back at this if he has a really strong run now. I know we know he's capable of having a strong run. We've already discussed the bike he's on. I think we all agree the Aprilia is the best bike this year. And we know there's no changes coming, essentially. That they are fixed, aren't they? Obviously, everyone's focused on their 850s and 2027. So he could potentially, this could be it. This could be the turning point. Obviously, the next round coming up, Aragon's going to be fascinating, because it's got a real mixture of corners, and it has got some fast corners where we know we're going to Aragon next week, in 2 weeks' time. We know, obviously, Marc goes well there. But the Aprilia will probably be the best bike for that track, really. So that's a mouth-watering prospect. And I think we'll be able to see where this championship's going to go, which direction it's going to go in after that weekend.
No doubt about it. Can we just have a quick word then, before we go to our next break, about Trackhouse, about the differing fortunes there, Neil? Raul Fernandez, I mean, we're over half an hour in this episode, and we haven't spoken about the race winner yet, who And I'm sure people could criticise. Says, were you willing him to fail on Sunday? No, we wanted a race, and I think it was good you pointed that out. It wasn't. We were just wanting a race, want a battle at the front. Wow, he did everything right, and it had such echoes of Phillip Island last year, didn't it? The performance from Fernandez, especially after what he did on Saturday, when his gut was telling him to go with the medium tyre, and he went with everybody else. If he'd have just trusted himself, he could well have won both of the events, both of the races over the race weekend. But it was a superb performance and just showed why, it's taken this long for him to get to this sort of stage in his career where, he's a regular challenger at the front end. Just showed what we thought, though, isn't it, when he came through from Moto2 after that stunning season.
Yeah, 5 years ago, we've been sort of waiting for it, but he's delivering now. If you look at the past 3 results in Grand Prix, he's scored more points than anyone else, not counting the sprints. But overall, the whole package of Raul Fernandez looks better, doesn't it? And he's not out of this championship fight. It's who now? Like I said, I'm going to go the full circle again of who's going to take it to Marc Marquez's second half of this season, because still, everybody you speak to in the paddock is saying it looks like, it's going to be a foregone conclusion. He's going to win his 10th title. But one of these Aprilia riders, or a few of these Aprilia riders, this is their chance. They are not going to get a better opportunity. No one knows what's going to happen next year. It's wide open. You could almost end up on the worst bike. Like the Aprilia might turn out to be the worst bike. Look, I don't think it's going to. But you just don't know with such a shake-up in the rules, with the tyres, the engine capacity, the aero, everything. So who is going to take the opportunity that they've got? And they've got 4 really good riders, haven't they? Obviously, the 2 factory boys, but Ogura, who's been amazing, like you said, the first mistake we've really seen him do, and now Raul Fernandez in this sweet spot, riding really well, and is able to conserve tyres as well. So it's a mouth-watering prospect.
Yeah, Fernandez, excellent on the Sunday. Managed that gap, didn't he? That was the key. He got up. We were saying, 2 seconds, is that enough? No, he wanted more. He had 4.5 seconds at one point, and then he really did play, didn't he, with the gap behind. Ogura, though, Sylvain, blinked. And that's something we're not used to seeing. It went wrong from the start, didn't it, with the ride height device coming on the Sunday. Performed well on the Saturday, but that's the first chink we've seen in Ogura's armour. And but all I want to come round to the end and ask you is that all the Aprilia riders, Fernandez 56 behind, obviously the other 3 are the top 3 in the championship, Martin, Bezzecchi and Ogura. They all still have a shot at this title now, don't they? And that's going to get fascinating as this season starts to go down towards its conclusion, how the pecking order works, how they all battle with each other. It's going to get fascinating, isn't it? But Ogura, despite that transgression, that first blip, has just not got to let that affect his confidence.
No, and it is his first DNF of the year. Well, it's his first one because of his own doing. He had one in Austin, but that was because the bike shut off, didn't it? The bike stopped. So he's been really consistent, Ogura this year. And it was a bit surprising. But that said, the thing for Ogura this weekend, and it was weird, he was the only rider from Aprilia, and the only rider actually, that couldn't really get on with the medium rear. And none of his runs I look back at all the analysis, and every time he was putting the medium rear, he was much, much slower than with the softs. So it was a bigger difference, a bigger gap. So he was clearly struggling with a tyre for some reasons, and tried to compensate for it. And sometimes that's what happens when you're a little bit on the back foot and you're trying to do a little bit more, and you can make a mistake. But Ogura, and I feel like Ogura or any of those top 5 riders, they could go on a roll. Like any of them could go on a roll, and have that confidence, and then do 3 or 4 races in a row where they dominate, or they are at a very, very sharp end, and that's it. That's championship. So it's so hard to tell, because even us, we've been inside the paddock, inside every single session, looking at everything from the inside. You can't tell. You just don't know. I mean, Marc Marquez, before we came to Silverstone, after Sachsenring, he come out of Sachsenring with the win, with a gap that was 102 points at some point down to, 29 or something like that. And you just think, well, that's it. They've handed him back a chance, and they're having it. And then you see what he did in Silverstone. He was really on the back foot there, and not only losing out to the Aprilias, he also lost out to Di Gianantonio was faster than him. Alex Marquez's brother was faster than him on the very same bike. So it's not a given that Marc is going to even. I think he is going to do well in Aragon, and he's going to the flyaways are going to be better for him. He'll be more competitive, but it's not a given. So if any of them go onto a run, including Raul Fernandez, we've got such a great championship fight ahead, and it could go as well that they make it. Some of them are going to make mistakes. It could go that the fact that because they're all competitive and one weekend in, one weekend out, they can be sort of shuffled a little bit. So that could play a part because some could be in the middle, as in like they're taking points off each other. So those are
that's Martin. Martin's leading the championship because relatively he's been not super spectacular but consistent, and he's ended up where he's got a decent lead in the championship now. And he almost to the point where he can afford to, to take a third instead of a second or something like that if he doesn't feel like it. So we'll see that as well, because as the season progresses, where do you go with the Aprilias? Because those stanchions and those questions are going to arise as you get, closer to the endpoint. So what do they do there? We'll see. I mean, it's going to be fascinating.
40 minutes in, and your first mention of Marc Marquez. Why do you all hate him so much? Why do you talk about Marc Marquez incessantly? Anyway, we're going to talk about Marc Marquez and Ducati. Was it a blip? Is
my favourite bit's coming up?
Shall I go put my t-shirt around? Right.
I can see you.
Sorry, I'm just excited.
Oh God, it doesn't bear thinking about. Right, let's have that break. When we come back, we'll be talking about Ducati, and don't forget, we're going to also talk about what was a brilliant Moto2 and a really good Moto3 race too. It's the final part of Gas It Out, and we are going to talk about the British Grand Prix. We've mentioned Aprilia and all their riders. Now we'll talk about the flip side of the coin, and Ducati. Their attack didn't materialise, although I just want to point one thing out before we get into this, that Alex Marquez was third and closing in rapidly on second. Yes, he made the mistake and he ran wide, and it's all about to finish first, you must finish, all that kind of thing. He dropped back in the end. Second win from Marco Bezzecchi. It wasn't, Neil, necessarily a complete and utter disaster, but how will Ducati be licking their wounds after the British Grand Prix, do you feel?
Well, I think the factory Ducati team it's one of the worst weekends they've had. I don't know if it is the worst weekend. Pecco was so poor, having crashed out. He had no pace at any point in the weekend, crashed out on Friday, lost the front going down to Brookland, and it was one of those crashes we've seen Pecco have when it's just not happening. From that moment on, he hit reverse. Did he finish just in front of Polo Spargo in the sprint, like down in something like 15th, 0.6 in front of Polo Spargo, like miles off it? And then in the race, did you see his crash? We only saw it briefly, but it was the strangest crash. That must have been mechanical.
It must have been. It's the front going in a corner exit. Was it exit of Luffield?
Indonesia last year?
Yeah, but this was
very strange.
Yeah, but this was even weirder, Gav, because he was definitely on the throttle and he was picking the bike up. Well, weird. I can't work.
And he lost the front.
I'd love to know what happened there. Almost like you hit something on the track or something weird like that. So that was Pecco, but Marc had no pace.
Could have been one of them GoPros. It could have been one of them GoPros from the onboard lap when we got told off. Do you want to tell that story, Neil, quickly? Because that was a good one.
Oh, God. So me and Sylvain did our onboard lap. We did it together on Thursday, and it was we love doing it, as you can imagine, riding together on track. We've got all these plans of what we're going to do, where we're going to pass each other and all that lot. Bear in mind, that never happens. Whatever we plan goes out the window when it never works when we set off. But this time, there was a delay before we went out, and eventually the lovely lady from Dorna that we deal with went, "Yep, you're good to go." Just me and Sylvain, so we set off down pit lane.
It's because the camera, one of the GoPros fell on the track, didn't it? from the previous Friday. We had loads of GoPros on it.
Yeah, Rani Depunier had done a lap and his GoPro had fallen off. So anyway, me and Sylvain go out on track, but the red light was on when we left pit lane. But that's happened quite a lot on these when you do a lap, because the track's not live essentially, so they don't want people going out. Anyway, we went out, rode round, and we did basically just 2 laps. And as we came round over the start and finish line, Loris Caparros is in the middle of the track going like this, waving us down. I instantly thought there must be something wrong with our bikes. Like one of the bikes must be smoking, because I knew obviously we got permission to be on the track. So it went down like a lead balloon, as you can imagine. So yeah, that was our Thursday.
It was the talk of everyone in race control as well.
Quite embarrassing.
I spoke to Mike Webb, Graham Webber out there. I spoke to Stuart Higgs. Everyone who was in race control was like, oh. They're naughty boys, them two.
Yeah, what were your 2 idiots doing out on track? And it's like they should have known better. We're like, well, no.
They told us to go.
Exactly.
Anyway,
back to the Ducati. You were talking about Pecco Bagnaia crashing on a GoPro coming out of Luffield.
Yeah, but like, when were the last time properly you saw Marc get beat by 2 other Ducati riders as well? Like, Marc had a really, really bad weekend. To say, obviously, where we come from Sachsenring, and he'd won 3 out of the last 4 Grand Prix.
It was your pick for this weekend.
My pick for this weekend, because I thought he's had 3 weeks off. 100% he'll be back. He'll be in a much better position physically. Obviously, mentally, he's rock solid anyway. So I thought he's going to turn the form book on its head. We know it's going to be an Aprilia track, but Marc's going to destroy them. And it was the opposite. It was, weird, really weird. That his body language looked bad. He never looked fast at any point. Worrying times for Ducati, because obviously all their eggs, I know obviously Digi's up there, but you still feel like your eggs are in the Marc Marquez basket if you're Ducati. So they'll be concerned.
Blinded by love, Sylvain. That's what it was. Love is blind. That's what they say. But look, he will
piss off.
He will see it as a blip, won't he? And Ducati will see it as a blip. They go to Aragon, knowing that there's a track that will suit them. They'll go to Aragon knowing there's parts of that track that Aprilia will be relishing too, and they'd love to chalk one up right in his backyard and on a track that he favours. It's going to be a lot tighter than it might have been in the past potentially. But there's a lingering bit of doubt, isn't there, about his fitness? There's a lot of talk over the weekend about my shoulder's still not perfect even after training in 3 weeks. Just a few more doubts that Ducati haven't to let them eke out into this point where it's with a championship just escapes them. Again, get back to a point where they are a few more points, 50, 60 behind, and the race is dwindling in terms of how many are left.
Yeah, well, another one like that, and that'll be it. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think Marc is going to destroy them in Aragon. That's what I think. But I suppose we're going to see. It's going to depend on how the Aprilias are going to behave there. But I think in Aragon, it's just the history of it. So he's super strong there, Marc is. So yeah, I do think that they are going to struggle to see his front plate in Aragon, and then that's him being completely back in the championship race. He's going to claw his way back quite a bit. I think there. That's what I think.
Be interesting to see.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, it could be that DG is really fast as well there. It could be that that Alex Marquez is in the mix as well. We probably won't see as much of a difference in between the Aprilias and the Ducatis. So bring it back together, and then it's the rider that makes the difference. But like I said, historically and because of the track layout, I do feel like Marc is going to be very hard to beat there.
Sorry, Gav. Sorry, I just want to jump in. Do you know what's good this year? And we've had lots of years where it's a 2-horse race where they're pinching points off each other. What's so good? If you go to a track where let's say it's not an Aprilia track, so it's a leveler track, just like Sylvain's saying, and so there's no advantage. You could have a decent weekend and come away with 2 fifth places. You could be riding okay. It's not like an absolute nightmare. You could get beat by a couple of Aprilias and a couple of Ducatis, and you find yourself fifth in both races. Exactly that.
Like a guy like Martin, if in Aragon he doesn't feel 100%, well, guess what? He's got 3 other Aprilias that are fast. And it's got
form.
Marc there and a couple of other Ducatis that could be in the mix as well. And suddenly, suddenly you are like Marc Marquez in Silverstone, and you're losing a ton of points.
It already happened in Brno. In Brno, the other Aprilias were strong. Ogura was strong. Other people were up there, and suddenly he comes away with a 5th and a 9th. And then in Germany, for example, Marc does the double, and he was 6th and 5th. It's already happened to Martin. It's happened to Marc there, and it's just reducing the frequency, isn't it, of those kinds of incidents. I just wanted to ask you, Neil, about Alex Marquez holding up the Ducati end, really, didn't he? And that's a bit of misfortune. Yeah, he ran wide at turn 1, but a lot of people did as things got tricky there. But would we be talking about the race differently if he did? He feels he threw away a 2nd place. So would we be talking differently about Aprilia had he taken that 2nd, do you think?
Yeah, possibly, because obviously that changes the narrative completely. But he is able to do very special things on that Ducati, isn't he? As good as his brother is around left-hand corners, if you put Alex Marquez on a Ducati on a fast right-hand corner, no one can do what he can do. So it's sort of like there as a rider, he was making the difference, as opposed to all 4 Aprilias are incredibly fast. So I think essentially I still believe in what we've discussed in this podcast, is that the Aprilia is clearly the best bike.
Right. That's, I think, all we've got on MotoGP. If you do have any more comments or you'd like us to talk about something else in our show next week, let us know at Gas It Out Pod on Instagram and on YouTube.
Yeah, listen, why don't you start talking about Brad Binder at Neil Hodgson? I'm disappointed with you. Gavin Emmett mentioned Brad Binder, and you never say anything about him. Now, bear in mind, he's a mate of mine. We all like Brad Binder, but it's hard to keep mentioning Brad Binder if he's down in 9th place or 8th place.
You're saying that, Neil, but he was he 18th on the grid and he finished 8th. That's worth a mention.
A fantastic ride.
I mean, that was fantastic.
100%. But when you're commentating and the cameras aren't showing Brad Binder,
you don't.
Sorry,
you just don't.
And if I glance at the timing and scoring, and he's at that time in 10th place, I think, Brad's in his usual spot, round about 10th. I don't really highlight that. It seems like it's the story of the weekend.
And we've done all this, and we haven't spoken about Pedro Acosta, who had a great ride. Had a great couple of rides.
Yeah, Pedro Acosta's in where he belongs. Way ahead of the next KTM, punching, overriding the bike, doing an incredible job, isn't he?
Yeah,
we're not mentioning him because he's just doing another weekend where you go, yeah, marvellous Pedro.
Yeah, absolutely. Joan Mir crashed again. Hondas were very middling. Yamaha struggled, but, sneaking into the points on occasion. Jack Miller again doing wonders in a qualifying trim. There's so many things we could get into, but we only have a certain amount of time that we can discuss.
Toprak a bit lost. That was a worrying round for Toprak. That's 2 on the bounce. That's worrying. I just want him to get his head down. I want him to keep strong for next year, because we know it's going to be an easier experience for him next year.
Toprak, that was the worst nightmare. I mean, Toprak is a stop and go rider, and you take Silverstone with no rear grip, with the tires that go down, where you need the corner speed so you don't have to recover it. And then obviously on top of that, the Yamaha that is still struggling with the package. So you're just adding there, you're putting all the ingredients to, for it to go wrong. So yeah, it was hard. He's saying, I still need to adapt my riding style and I can't do it. And actually at this point, is it really worth it? Because
no, not really.
He should be able to use his natural riding style a lot more with the Pirelli tires, and with the ride device is completely gone. So. And have we said that they should be gone straight away? They should, as we said that we should get rid of them. I mean, come on, really? Another 2 riders of the top 3 that do turn 1 with the fairings on the ground. I mean, I mean, it's nice for the sparks, but that's a dangerous situation if they can't lean, they can't turn, and the bike is like fully on the rear. If they make a mistake and they crash there, they're at the front of the pack, they're going to get run over. Get rid of the bloody things. Anyway, we're not saying it all the time there.
Hang on, Gav, I know you're trying to jump onto another thing. I just want to finish with Toprak. I was just weirdly thinking about what Sylvain said. Is it worth him changing his riding style? Do you know what? I think it's not. we all rate Toprak that much. I think it's almost worth. Obviously, this is not going to happen. Swapping Toprak right now for Fernandez, get him back, the test rider, and have Toprak be the test rider on the 850, riding it every week. And he will start on, I know they can't ride them every week, but do loads of miles on it. And Toprak will end up in a situation where he starts next year as one of the title favourites if the Yamaha's good, because he's got all that experience on the Pirellis, he's helped develop the bike, and he'll probably tweak the riding position. Just an idea. I know it's not.
That is not a bad idea, actually. It's not a silly one at all. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The only thing is on the whole Yamaha thing is the engineers have to do the business, and it feels like at the moment that's where the problem lies. And the problem doesn't lie with the riders, does it? It's getting the bike to where it needs to be. Everything we're hearing when you speak to people is even the 850 project is behind the 8 ball here. You know, they are a little bit behind where the others are.
Who's testing it? They could do worse than having Toprak testing that on Pirellis.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I am saying is, though, it still requires an engineering department that's being well communicated to, that are pushing things forward, that are trying things, that are going in the right direction. And is that happening at the moment? I don't know. Just the noises are off, are saying different.
The rumours in the paddock are that it's off. That's what you're saying, Gav. Because that's the truth, isn't it? That's what we're hearing. And don't get me wrong, obviously that's not official, and we're not hearing that off someone high up at Yamaha, but these are the rumours that are bouncing around when you're walking through the paddock.
Well, and engine-wise, if you've got a slow 1000cc V4, you're going to have a slow 850cc V4. You will, because they've reduced proportionally the bore size. So your engine, basically, each of the cylinders, instead of being 250cc, they're going to be 212.5. So basically a smaller version of the 1000cc. So yeah, if you got a slow 1000, you're going to have a slow 850. That's the idea.
Yeah, then that is exactly how it is. And so that's just what we're hearing from behind the scenes, that the engineers need to step up. And anyway, I just wanted to talk about Moto2 and Moto3 really quickly, because I feel like we need a whole episode on them. Maybe we should do that and do the next episode just about the other classes, because they were so good at the weekend. But Moto2, I feel like just the last lap has a whole episode on it, of the amount of things that went on there. Manuel Gonzalez, though, his interview after the race, go and search it out if you can. DAZN did one in Spanish, I know, that I listened to. He did one in English too, but he basically sort of, I don't know what he said, really. He sort of said, well, I couldn't see my pit board, I could see L1, I wasn't sure, I didn't roll off across the line. But obviously then he stood up, and he obviously slowed down, because he's got his frame over the bike, and you're going to slow down in that position, when you stand like that. And that was just enough for Dani Olgado to hit him. It messed up Olgado's last lap as well, because he'd had the contact. Then he was in a battle with Philip Salac. It was wild throughout, wasn't it? From lap one, Alonso and Aegis, they had problems getting it working. It was an absolute cracker of a race.
Yeah. Do you know, I feel for Gonzalez. Obviously, it's on him. It's a mistake. And I feel for him, because his story doesn't really make sense. He's embarrassed, isn't he? He's messed up massively after doing everything perfectly, and with everything that's going on, missing out on a MotoGP ride last year, missing out on a MotoGP bike for the next 2 years, it looks like. Everything the way that the season ended last year put extra pressure on this year, but he's performed, he's been the man. And if he'd have won at Silverstone, it'd have increased his lead massively, and it would look amazing. But he made a mistake. I don't know why he just didn't say, look, I read my board wrong. People are human. Yeah. These mistakes happen. Because, put it this way, Gav and Sylvain, you'll appreciate this. If you're in a race and you don't know if it's the last lap, there's only one way you find out, is when, as you lead out the last corner, you look into the side to see the checkered flag. And if you don't see a checkered flag, you got it slightly wrong. There's another lap to go. You don't celebrate and then see what happens afterwards. So it was a weird one. But like I said, I like Manu Gonzalez. But my fear now is he's going to ride tight at the next race because he's going to go,
It's gonna
oh
be
my
funny,
God.
yeah.
Here we go again, deja vu, because he's been managing it perfect. So let's hope that doesn't happen for him.
Put it that way. This one we're not going to write down in our book of excuses. We're not going to use that one, are we?
No,
because it's not a good one.
It's a bad one.
It's not a good one. He should have just come out with it and just said, "Look, I mean, I messed up. I'm so sorry for my team and my sponsors and whatever. I got it wrong, and I know it shouldn't happen, but I got it wrong, and I just made a small mistakes, but we had a great weekend and I should have won the race. So let's move on. But then instead of that, the explanation didn't make sense. He got lucky though. I mean, I know you create your own luck, but he got unlucky that the exhaust was just bent but not broken, so it would just touch on the floor. And so instead of finishing, I don't know, 5th or 6th, he finished. Did he finish 15 or
14?
Way down, wasn't he? Yeah, so he's only scoring 2 points there, unfortunately. So yeah, but it was just a mistake. I mean, it's one that will stick with him a little bit, unfortunately, because it's never. I mean, you think of Aleix Espargaro, Barcelona, Catalonia.
Well, that wasn't for a win. That wasn't for a win.
And that was not for a win. So yeah, but it doesn't take away the fact that he was there, and again he'd done the homework for the race, and he was strong at the end, and So yeah, it's just unfortunate. So yeah, hoping he's not at the back of his mind in Aragon.
Yeah, in the middle of commentary, I remember I was thinking so many things happened to him last year. A lot of bad luck. The stone in the radiator was one. Then he got a disqualification, didn't he? That wasn't anything to do with him, And I remember thinking in the middle of commentary, this has happened before. And I just feel like we said it even at the start of last year, Neil. Do you remember? It was like, I feel like this isn't going to go for Manu. Remember?
Yeah, the stars are not aligning.
Yeah,
it's like, and I just
he'll be thinking the same.
Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it?
Yeah, you sit at home now for 2 weeks and you think, I've not got a MotoGP ride again. And
what have I done?
Yeah, if you literally a catalogue in the last 12 months, because if you remember, the first half of last year was really strong. It was leading the championship.
Yeah,
so it's this 12-month curse. Everything's going wrong, and Sylvain honestly hit the nail on the head. It's like the fact that he rolled off. Yeah, what an idiot! But he should have still even got away with that. But to have his exhaust clipped at the exact perfect angle where it bends down so he can't lean the bike over, like if it had snapped off, it'd have been fine. But no, it was just bad luck. So,
talking of bad luck, Maximo Quiles broke his collarbone in Moto3 in practice, in qualifying. Obviously, his right collarbone. So now he missed out. He's got 2 weeks to recover. But everything we've said about Marco Bezzecchi and how incredible that was, obviously on a Moto3 bike is slightly different forces going through your body than a MotoGP bike, but still, it's only going to be 3 weeks on. He's an 18-year-old kid. Just has to be careful, doesn't he, Sylvain? Again, I know he's had the operation already, and they say it's a success. I've never once seen them come out of an operation and say it went awful. By the way, imagine that.
Oh, no, that was amazing. Imagine that.
Something like that.
Just had surgery.
In the hospital with the thumbs down going, I had surgery. It was a disaster. Mess. They've had to take it out. Yeah. No, they've never.
We got it again tomorrow.
No, he hang on. For the surgery, it was a right bodge job. I'll be honest, it's a bodge.
I don't trust these doctors.
He'll be lucky if he can walk again. Honestly, I've proper screwed that one up. We need to do a picture of me with a sling saying Dr. Emmett's operated on my collarbone.
The surgery went well thing. It's like after testing, great test. We've had a great test. We made so much progress. It's always like that, isn't it? Always the same. But he was lucky that the injury was not worse.
Sylvain, great test. This is right. This is for everyone at home. Whenever you read great test, right? But if the times aren't good, and they always go, we were working on race pace, that means not a great test. Yes. It's that always one. That. You're like, great test, you're 1.5 seconds off the bloody pace there. And it's like, oh no, really good though, working on race pace.
Race pace.
No, not a great test.
That one. That's a good one for the book of excuses, this one. We use it quite and again,
Sylvain,
that one.
We know.
Yeah. Available in all good bookshops for Christmas. These two are thinking of publishing it.
We are. We're going to bring out.
We should do that.
Bike races, book of excuses. Not a bad idea.
Do well.
But
Get onto
Quiles got. He got. I know it's a bad crash, but he got a bit lucky. I mean, he's so violent, and the way he landed on the curb, on the laceration of the curb, and I thought when I saw it, I thought, oh wow, that's not a collarbone job. That's a full shoulder blade job. You know, like it looked really bad. So when we heard, I was a bit worried actually, and I told you, Neil, when we were on live on TV, because we only had a very short time to talk about it, and so Susie asked me what I thought, and she gave me the eyes straight away, so I sort of like, you had to be quick, and I thought, well, it's a good thing that he broke his collarbone, and I was there, and I thought, oh, if somebody quotes me on that, I meant obviously it's a good thing they only broke his collarbone because it looked so bad, but I thought, oh, if somebody. Because sometimes we get quoted out of context a little bit. And I thought if somebody's putting that out there,
every week
he's not going to talk to me.
Clipping it up.
Yeah.
Why do you hate Max Quiles so much, Sylvain?
Yeah. What did you wish him to get hurt? It's like, no, whoa, hang on a minute. So anyway, I meant, that it looked so bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. So yeah, hopefully he's back. I mean, he's young. He'll bounce back quick. Do you remember how quick he came back from his wrist injury last year? That was very fast. Yeah.
That's when Susie was talking to you, Sylvain, after you produced that picture towards the end of the show on Sunday. I'm not sure. Suddenly, you won't be. Perhaps in
when
Aragon.
I saw that picture, I knew it was happening. Do you know when you get those moments? Like I knew it was happening. I saw it.
Go and search it on the TNT Sports socials. Hey, just in absentia of Max Quiles, David Almanza won the Moto3 race. Really good battle that we had there with the likes of Alvaro Carpe, Valentin Perone, and Adrian Fernandez missing out, got berated by his team or by Christian Lundberg as he came across the line. But Scott Ogden, it wasn't meant to be, was it, for him, crashing out of pole position, same place that Quiles. Thankfully, I think he's okay after it, because it was very similar to Quiles' crash.
Exact same high side, exact same point. Literally, it was like a carbon copy. I think even Scott Ogden might have even gone higher. So yeah, to escape unscathed, you do feel like it's like, let's say, he's probably his last mistake. I don't know if he's going to continue for the rest of the year. He's in his 5th season. There's chat that I think he's almost on a race-by-race deal now, because he's...
So the end of the European leg of the season, perhaps?
Yeah, underperformed during the season, not quite achieve what was expected. And after 5 seasons, you have to be better. And if you look at Scott's results, he was 20th in the championship. I guess he'll be even lower than that now. So it was his chance, wasn't it, really? Qualifying on pole, it was his chance to shine. And
I was looking all right.
Looking good. Look, he was sat there, and you felt like this could be his chance to get his first podium. And if he had, that maybe that would have changed things. But unfortunately for him, ending up in the gravel, that's probably it, I'd say.
Yeah, there were some good rides. Joel Kelso, I thought, coming through, he was at the points at one point, up to 6th place in the end. All in all, it was
did well.
Yeah, up to 8th with that lovely livery. I spoke to the team afterwards.
So good.
And they were saying, why didn't you show more of the bike? I said, we're not in charge. We're not in charge of putting it out there. But
for me, the best home livery I've ever seen in my life. I loved it. I mean, the way the flag was on the side, and then with the yellow number, everything looked right about it. I loved it.
I always love the yellow number. I think that's always a win when you get them on the bike. It just
full retro. It looks
exactly, and it just echoes things for older race fans like ourselves. Right. I think, is that everything we've got? That's everything I've got. This is our longest episode today, I think, pretty much. But anything you want to add at all, SG, Neil?
No, I think we've covered everything there. Just a great weekend, all in all.
Salic, we've not mentioned Salic. What a race, and a great race win for Salic. He was coming, and he did so good in Brno, being so close and so on. So I was really happy. Felt like as well the Salic story feels like it's been a bit of a long winding one. So for him to finally get his win, you could see what it meant to him. So I thought that was great. And then there was something else that I was thinking about. Yes, Uriarte. With him crashing, missed opportunity on catching points on Quiles. That was obviously, he's got that massive gap at the championship. So yeah, that was a bit of a missed opportunity for him, unfortunately. But the Moto3 race was lively, wasn't it? They were going wild. I mean, it was Fernandez kicking off stuff, and then so it was hard not to make a mistake. It was just a mess, wasn't it, really?
Probably knocking lumps out of each other again, weren't they? God, they hate each other. They all hate each other.
It's insane. Yeah.
Absolutely wild. Right. We'll say goodbye for now. Thank you for making it this far through a bumper episode. A reminder, as always, you can contact us at Gas It Out Pod on Instagram and YouTube. And while we go, I'm going to leave you again. Oh, no, not with the championship. I'm going to leave you with the QR code for the Luca Quintoli Foundation and a chance to buy your raffle ticket for the Fabio Quartararo limited edition helmet. And we'll leave you with that. We will be back next week. But if in doubt, in the meantime, gas it out.